Peace, peace, peace. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know, it's your boy Vic Slain Hope. I come back with another story time. I ain't give y'all a street story time in a minute. And somebody asked me to make a video about like how did the takeover happen? How did we like ended up controlling the neighborhood? Back in the days when I was doing my thing. So I'll give y'all a little story and I'm gonna share with y'all. So remember I told y'all I got jumped, right? So, but before I got jumped, I was dealing with a certain situation. So like the funny thing is I didn't go to Evander, right? For those of you who know, you know what I'm saying, where Evander is at. So I didn't go to EV. But one of the homeboys, he used to go to EV. So he had gotten into a little situation. He was rolling 30s at the time. And then he had gotten into a little situation with the Bloods around the area or whatever the case might be. And I started coming outside. Like my mans linked me with him. And then next thing you know, I'm coming outside. Like, I was checking him. So he I was chilling with him. And I was like, yo, what's good? And he was just like, yeah, he told me about his situation. I was like, all right, cool. Like, we going to be outside. This is how I started patrolling. You know what I'm saying? This is how I started, like, going outside. So we started doing that. And then we seen one of the dudes that was responsible for getting him jumped, right? Like, the main culprit. And I was like, yo, bro, like, what's up? Like, let's get at this dude. And then he was just like, nah, bro, like, like, we squashed it. You know what I'm saying? There's no beef no more and whatever. So I'm like, what you mean there's no beef, bro? Like, they jumped you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like once you pick a side, it's just like, yo, like you in this. Like, so I didn't understand what he was talking about, like truths. I was ignorant back then, right? And, my young, ignorant mind. And I was just like, yo, it's no such thing as truth. Like, they jumped you. They got one up on you and, you had other altercations. I don't know if they jumped them a few times, but whatever the case might be, you and the gang, like, what I'm saying? This shit is just like, at least my mind back then is a cycle, right? It's an ongoing thing. So I was like, what you mean the squash? So he was just like, bro, like, all they gonna do is call mad people. Mind you, it was more Bloods and Crips. So he's like, yo, bro, it's gonna be the same thing. We could beat them up now, but then they just gonna call mad people. So I was just like, so you thinking about the aftermath? Like, I'm thinking about like, get back right now. Like, we figure out whatever we figure out later on. This is just the mindset, right? So anyway, we ended up not doing nothing because at the end of the day, I ain't get jumped. He got jumped. So I was like, whatever. And we wasn't in the same set. So I was like, all right, whatever. You don't want to do nothing? Cool. So, after that, I started coming around more. So I started going outside. I started playing the block. And then, so when we first started, it was only like about 3-4 Crips. It was me. I was insane. My boy was rolling 30s. And then my other boy, he was rolling 20s. So, and then when my mans, he turned insane. My mans, I was rolling 20s, he turned insane. And then the homeboy that was rolling 30s, he turned Grape Street. So it was like 2-3 Grape Street. So it was like 5 of us. So, we was out there chilling. And then the rest of the people that was hanging out with us was neutral. Like, they just was around. They was part of the football team in Evander. So it was just regular vibes. Like, they liked us because of us, who we was. We was cool. We was cool dudes. We was chill. But they also had like a thing, again, like I said, like there was a lot of stuff going on with the homies. You know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff that they was doing that a lot of people didn't like. But the thing is, a lot of people wasn't going to stand up. A lot of people wasn't going to talk out against it. You know how it is. When you a big force, when you strong, like people not going to say certain things. People not going to speak up. A lot of people not going to speak up. They'll just mind their business. But, they hold that disdain. They hold that dislike for you. So what happened was, we started coming around more frequently. We started being outside. We started hanging out. We started posting up. And, so we started doing little things like that, which led eventually to me getting jumped, So we was doing, this is before I got jumped, you know what I'm saying, across the street from the crib, So we was just doing little things like that. And like when people seen us standing up to certain things, when people seen us standing up to like the people that they viewed as the tyrants at the time, people kind of like that. When people see people standing up to the people they got a problem with, people tend to like, they fuck with you. They like what you're doing. Man, they're more prone to join your movement than the other person's movement. You understand what I'm saying? Like now they got something, some type of help. Kind of like why I joined the gang. You feel me? Because I felt like, I wanted to fight against certain people, but I needed some help. So anyway, so we started doing that. We started hanging out. So we was hanging out with a whole bunch of neutral dudes that just didn't like They didn't like some of the stuff that was going on. So what happened was, because there was people that already had these issues with these individuals, and they just couldn't voice it, or they just couldn't come out and talk about it. It led to them turning Crip. So it led to like, but all of this started happening after I got jumped. So there was a few situations we got into. I got jumped. There were situations where like, we were shot at. There were situations where like dudes pulled out guns. There was a lot of situations. There was a lot of fighting. There was a lot of stuff going on. But the one thing that I would say about us is that like we was determined. Like, we had that in us. We had that, like, they got that little saying, we don't die, we multiply. Like, we really believe that. We really believe that deep down in our hearts. And there's something about the psychology of the mind, when they talk about like, if you, like they say the little corny thing, if you believe it, you can achieve it. Like, it sounds corny, but that shit is some real shit. Like, if you really put emphasis into you gonna become something, or you gonna do something, or you know what I'm saying, like, you could really achieve it. And there's something about the psychology. I don't really got the words for it, but I remember my professor, right? And this is going away, but I'm just giving you a little context. I remember my professor in college. She was a psychology professor, and she said she was married to her husband, and her husband had stage 4 cancer. I think like bone marrow or something. Not bone marrow. I don't know, but it was a crazy cancer, right? And she said that the doctor told her husband he was going to die. He had less than like 4 months, something like that, to live. And her husband, when the doctor told him that, her husband was like, I don't know what he talking about. Like, I'm not gonna die. Like, I'm gonna live. Like, he was determined. He had something in his mind told him, like, I don't care what this doctor's talking about. I don't care what the exams show. I don't care what he believes. I don't care about none of that. I'm gonna live. And like, he really believed that. And you know what's crazy? He beat the cancer. Mind you, the doctor told him, he had cancer for a while, and like they told him like, yo, even if you get a bone marrow transplant, you're not gonna live. It's too advanced, all of this crazy stuff. But he ended up beating it. And she was saying that she's a psychology major, so she was saying like something about the mind. She couldn't even really fully explain it, but he had that drive and that determination. And I say that to say that like we kind of like had that drive and that determination too. Like, we really believe we couldn't die. Like, we really believe these dudes wasn't gonna kill us. Like, we really believed that. And it was stupid. Like, when I look back on it, it was stupid, because like literally like dudes would shoot at us, and then the next day we'd be outside on the same block, on the same corner. Like, and don't get me wrong, it was a statement. We was making a statement. We didn't have no guns. Like, we was just regular trooping it, and these dudes was pulling out guns, they was shooting. But like, the thing is, like, dudes do a shooting and then they go into hiding, right? Like, they want to lay low. Some dudes don't. Some dudes come outside the next day. But like, once you show your face sometimes, and you shoot at people in broad daylight, or whatever, sometimes people go into hiding, they go into chilling. Not everybody, because anyway. But that's the shit that was going on. And like, we would come outside the next day, like, looking for the dudes who did it. So people started to get the message, like, oh, these dudes is not playing. These dudes is like, they don't even got no guns. And they coming outside the next day, dudes is pulling out guns on them. So like, this was the mentality. And like, when we was doing that, people were seeing that. People were seeing that we were standing up to the people that, was the oppressors at the time. We don't realize it's all puppet master stuff, right? At the moment, we just see each other as enemies. We see each other as odds. We see each other as like, I gotta take you out before you take me out. This is just the mindset in the hood, right? So, but people like that we were standing up to that. So when people seen that, we became like the favorable group. We became like the underdogs. So now you got a group of people that are coming up and despise also this other bigger group. So people started joining our wave. People started like, yo, I want to be down. I want to get down with this. Like, I want to, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that was kind of like the things that was going on that kind of like led to us, it's crazy because like once we did that, like people started messing with us. Eventually, we kind of like, just, and then the moment them things came around, it was over. Like, we already had the heart, you know what I'm saying? Like, them things just wasn't around, like, you know what I'm saying? But like, once you got the heart and once you got the belief, and then you get them things, it's over. It's a wrap. Like, so that's kind of like what happened. That's how kind of like it went down. Like, we became the favorites, because we wasn't on some wild, like, oppressive stuff. But then, like, again, like later on, like some of the homeboys was kind of like oppressive too. you know. And the thing that you don't realize, like I said, like I did it because I was trying to fight against oppression, right? At least what, you know, how it looked in my neighborhood. But then it's like, because there's more Bloods than Crips, you know, you don't really get to see the shit that the Crips be doing. You don't really get to see like their side of the, you know, of the field, or of the activities that's going on, right? You don't really get to see that there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of shit that's going on. It might not be exactly the same, but you know, once you start hanging around Crips more, and once you start hanging around certain people more, you start to see, like, it's almost like they say, like, you never really know what a person is about till you move with them, till you move in with them, or till you start living with them, or till you start, you know, just being around them more. And then it's like, then you start to see how, oh, these people, not all of them, but like, oh, some of these people are oppressive too. Some of these people are doing foul shits to the homeboys too. Some of these people, you know, doing a little extortion shit, doing a little funny shit. So again, it's not on the big scale, but it goes on, I believe, in both sides, you know. So I didn't know that because, again, like, you're not constantly seeing that, and it might be to different levels, but I think that, like, yeah, both factions got like the little ugly sides of them and the little ugly shit that be going on. And the crazy thing is that, like, I never really started really being around Bloods till I went to jail, you know, because there's a lot of Bloods in jail, you know. So I never really started hanging out with them. So it's almost like I never really gave them a chance. Because when I was home, I only chilled with maybe like 2-3 Bloods, like, you know, and like we was mad cool, we chilled, but like I was biased, you know. I repped a certain color, they repped a certain color, and then you just become automatically biased. Some people don't. Some people still be, you know, going back and forth, but like a lot of times people just become biased. They be like, I'm not chilling with the other side, I'm not doing that. So that's kind of like where I was at. But then when I went to jail and you start being around them and you start like mingling with them and you start chilling with them, then you start to realize, like, yo, some of the biasness that you might have had, or the experiences you might have had with some of these dudes in the street, it's not necessarily the same. You know, like, some of these dudes are actually cool. Some of these dudes don't actually think the same, or some of these dudes aren't actually up on what some of the other dudes might be up on. You know, so you get to see different things, and like, you know, so part of my self-reflection was just like, yeah, you still kind of like feel similar, but then you also start to see a different side. You also start, your mind starts to change, right? You be like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's they not as bad as like somebody told you they was, or maybe this faction was worse than another faction. So, you know, it's just a lot of context and a lot of shit that goes on, right? But like, you know, when I went to jail, you know, you're around them, so it's kind of like you get to see what's what, who's who. Not saying that like they still wasn't doing oppressive shit in jail, but you kind of like tend to see other things and other sides. You know, you become, you get a more of a balanced outlook. But that's the story, man. That's kind of like how we won the people over. You know, we was new, and people was messing with us just of the fact because like we was standing up and they was afraid to. And now that there was a group that was standing up, like, people started joining that group. You know, but at the end of the day, if you don't got it in you, you don't got it in you. You know, because at the end of the day, when it's your time to put on, when it's your turn to put in that work, when it's your turn to represent, if you don't got it in you, you don't got it in you. And a lot of times that's what happens. Like, people join the waves, they join the bandwagon, but eventually it's gonna catch up to you. Eventually it's gonna be your turn to perform, and when it's your turn to perform, you gotta perform, or, you know, shit just fall apart. You know, and that's basically kind of like, you know, the story. But yeah, man, like, that's the story. Let me know what y'all think. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and, you know, just keep this circulating. Peace.